Although week one of the NFL season is in the books for the New Orleans Saints, we're going to go back and revisit that week one game against the Arizona Cardinals, kind of look at some plays that stood out, maybe ones that were the big moments, but also ones that kind of went under the radar, to look at which players I thought kind of showed out for the New Orleans Saints in their season opener, and then a couple that I think I'd have some concerns about moving forward. So we're going to get things started here. As always, guys, the Straight Up Saints podcast is brought to you by Scott McNair Injury Lawyers. If you've been injured in any kind of accident, car, truck, 18-wheeler, hurt offshore, Scott McNair handles it all. You give him a call at 504-500-1111 for a free consultation. They'll always fight for the win. So we'll start this off. We'll go through some of the plays. I'll give my thoughts, and we'll go from there. I think, I talked about this on the post-game live stream, that I didn't look at the Saints season opener as some type of like catastrophic loss or something to really, be upset about. I thought this was a team that obviously the penalties were super discouraging in terms of being undisciplined and a lot of pre-snap penalties. But I think that defensively, I thought Brandon Staley's group really brought the energy, and that was without Chase Young, who got injured just a couple of days before the game even started. So when he gets back, I think that'll only make them more formidable on that front. And then I thought for the offense, obviously a really rough first half. You could probably say the same thing for the third quarter. And then the fourth quarter, you really saw them kind of open things up and take charge. So we're going to go through it. I want to start off highlighting two of the older players on the New Orleans Saints. That's Demario Davis and Cam Jordan. I think I'm running out of things to say about Demario, but just watch this play here. You're going to see Cam Jordan set the edge really well. We'll get you two angles on this one. But I think this one's all about Demario Davis and obviously what he's forcing James Conner to do, which is cut this run back into pretty much no man's land. So right there, I'll bring it back. You're going to see Cam Jordan set the edge, which, by the way, Cam Jordan had an outstanding first game. It was not like one of those fluke type performances where the Cardinals just played terribly. I thought Cam did well. So watch Cam here. He's going to do his job. He's going to force James Conner, He's going to cut him right off. So he sets the corner really well. Demario's already shooting the gap anyway, and here comes Demario. Once again, James Conner has to go now completely counter to where the run was designed. He's got to now change gears. He's moving right. At this point, doesn't matter. You got a whole convoy of Saints defenders already there to clean it up. Chris Rumph ends up doing it. So I'm going to go back one more time to watch this. Try to single in on Demario, who you'll kind of see him highlighted in this little gray box here. Demario really is just like a heat-seeking missile, which at this stage in his career doesn't really make sense. I think he's the type of guy who I know obviously puts so much hard work into his body and making sure that he's able to play at a high level. It's still it's superhuman what he's able to do. So love seeing that. We're going to go to a play that definitely got a lot of attention. This is probably my favorite call that Brandon Staley made the entire day. It's 3rd and 4. If the Saints give up a first down here, the game is effectively over. The Cardinals will just take their knees and go into week 2. And right here in this spot, I didn't expect the Saints to come up with a stop, frankly. I just didn't. Maybe I'm scarred from past things that we've seen with the New Orleans Saints. But what I love about this play is that Kyler Murray is the type of quarterback that even if the pass rush, your front four is doing their job and it looks like they're going to get home, he's got the elusiveness to get out of trouble, extend a play, and maybe end up burning you with his legs. But Brandon Staley says, man, if I send Alontae Taylor on a corner blitz here off the edge, I don't think there's really a chance that he's going to be able to really, beat us with his legs. All right, I'm going to go back because I genuinely really, really love this play. I love the call. I think being an aggressive DC in this situation pays off. And look at Kyler. He already sees Alontae Taylor coming, so he didn't even get a second to look at his reads. He's already bailing out. But because he's pivoting backwards, that type of move will probably get you out of harm's way if a defensive lineman's running at you, but not Alontae Taylor. Because by the time he does that, he's got to take another stutter step to the middle of the field now. And even if he wasn't going to get hit by Alontae, you got Pete Werner coming free anyway too. So I love this decision by Brandon Staley, and it's the only reason the Saints even had a chance at the end of the game to go down the field with Spencer Rattler and maybe tie this game up. So stuff like that, to me, is what you want to see from your defensive coordinator. I'm going to go back one more time and just play this in full because faceted role, he's excellent. And you saw it there. So let's switch over to the offense. This is not the Juwan Johnson drop that everyone's going to be talking about. This actually played prior to it. And I've already aired out my thoughts about Juwan Johnson. I thought Juwan Johnson had a very good game for the Saints. And unfortunately, on the final drive, there was 2 plays that if he makes either one of them, maybe we have a different discussion about week one. If he makes the catch in the end zone, we're definitely having a different discussion about week one, because this game either gets sent into overtime or Kellen Moore says, hey, what if I go for 2 here and I go for the win in week one in my first game as the head coach of the Saints. But that didn't happen. But even before that play, Rattler here, where are you at? Around the 18, 19-yard line, 19-yard line, let's call it. Not a whole lot here to work with. I'm going to pause it right here. No one's open. The only one that's really open is Alvin. But even if Al were to catch that ball, he throws it to him in the flat right there. What are you going to gain? Maybe 5-6 yards, and then you got to hope he goes out of bounds. Obviously, Will Alvin's a smart player, but you're not gaining a whole lot. So Rattler's kind of going for broke here. He ends up throwing it to Juwan, which I'm going to freeze the frame right here again. I still don't – none of your guys on the boundary are even open really at this point. Juwan really is your only option. And even then, you have a safety who's by the second S in the end zone over here, right-hand corner of the end zone. That's going to end up coming crashing down on this throw towards Juwan. Rattler throws it in the only place where it could be, truthfully. And Juwan ends up dropping it. And you know what? I said this when it happened, that actually could have been a good drop for the Saints, because I don't know if they would have had enough time. If he would have caught it, would have been 9 seconds left. So would the Saints been able to get up to the line with the remaining 8 seconds and spike it and have a chance at the 2-yard line to throw the ball for the win or the tie? Yeah, maybe. And obviously, running one more play from the 2-yard line would have been a whole lot easier to manage than Rattler having to rip it from about the 20 yet again. But again, not meant to be. Juwan drops it. I just find it funny, though, because we all talk about the Juwan drop in the end zone. But once again, where's Rattler supposed to go with the football here? No one's really open. And I think he makes a pretty decent throw to Juwan. You'd like to see Juwan come up with one of those two. He's getting paid $10+ million a year now. Stuff like this can't be happening. So that to me was a little frustrating. And it's kind of funny. Everyone talks about the one, but not both. So this play here, we're gonna highlight 2 guys that I think deserve a lot of credit. Eric McCoy is a no-brainer here. Pay attention to the work he does. He'll obviously go run it back. And also want to give credit to Stoll on the edge right there. Great block. Unfortunately, Alvin kind of gets a little clip there, which kind of stinks. And I hate to say it, Fuaga had a brutal game. Even there, that's a fine block from Fuaga, but we'll get into some Fuaga tape that's pretty rough. Just pay attention to Eric McCoy, though. There's a reason why I call him the glue to the interior of this offensive line. Like, look how quickly this man gets to the second level already, and he's already clearing out traffic. It's a shame. Go back. I believe it's Juwan. If Juwan's able to hold his block just a little bit longer, Alvin's getting to that second level with ease, but Juwan is unable to make it, unable to hold on that block for a while, and that's where Alvin ends up getting clipped. But go back a couple more seconds. Let me see real quick. I think if I had right here, all right, you're going to see Juwan in between Fuaga and Stoll. He's already on the way down. If he's able to hold that block just a second longer, you have to wait a while for another Cardinals defender to get in that area because Stoll seals off his defenders so well. And none of these guys on the left-hand side would have caught Alvin. So we're talking about Alvin. He'll have to meet the safety up top, but it's a one-on-one situation at that point. And I don't know. I think I would put my money on Alvin in that. So it's frustrating. Great blocking from McCoy and obviously Stoll, who, by the way, Saints ended up moving him to the 53-man roster. Plays like that are probably why. I think when they signed Jack Stoll, they really liked his ability to be a blocking tight end. They don't really have that luxury. And he did a good job on Sunday. So shout out to him. This play here, love the play call. This is the one that I was thinking of where Fuaga, just rough. I'll play the whole clip in full and then I'll go back. It's an excellent play call. So you're going to have a quarterback counter here on this kind of option play here where Rattler's reading the defender. So right read, obviously, but great play here. Unfortunately, Fuaga and Juwan Johnson, I believe, have a double team block right here. I'm going to freeze at the top right there. Neither one of them do the job. And I don't know what the Saints are going to say. Maybe this Wednesday we'll get an update on Fuaga. his knee injury is a legit problem. He did not look like himself. And it wasn't like he was getting beat and he just looked pathetic out there. He looked like a guy that was hampered. So Saints are going to have to make a decision whether or not he's going to sit for a little bit because that knee is not right. But Juwan and Fuaga missed that double team block. And it's a damn shame that's the case because had they done that, I think that you're talking about an excellent opportunity for Rattler to turn this one upfield and gain a shit ton of yardage. Because the way the play was designed, which beautiful job from Kellen Moore. Go back a little bit. Watch Kelvin Banks on the left. Because you got the counter motion here, he's pulling. So if Rattler got that double team block, you have a secondary player against Banks. Banks is absolutely going to steamroll the crap out of him. So Rattler might have still been running. And yet Shaquille on the outside to the right blocking. So who knows? Like this might have been a house call potentially. And it's just a shame. It's one of those in the moment, you really see the play, you go, all right, interesting play call. It still picked up positive yards, but I think this is one where with the proper execution, you're looking at this quarterback counter run where Rattler maybe gains 30, 40 yards. And I don't think that's me being hyperbolic here. I think that watch this play one more time. You got Banks pulling. Man, if Fuaga and Juwan make that block, Rattler's picking up 20, 30 yards with ease. So love the play call there from Kellen Moore. I think that was just a really nice call. And like I said, just quite unfortunate that the execution wasn't where it needed to be for this to be a home run type of play. Anyway, we'll keep it moving. Let's go over to what we got. Defense here. Yes, we do. So we got some stunts here. Staley dialing up. Pay attention again to Demario Davis. He literally takes out, I believe, 3 Arizona Cardinals in this play. You got their left guard, left tackle, and James Conner in for pass protection on the blitz pickup. And he really is a one-man wrecking crew. That whole right side just gets cleared up, which frees the lane for Carl Granderson to get in. Cam Jordan, by the way, on the other side, is absolutely winning his one-on-one matchup with ease. And don't worry, I'm going to play this one over and over again. But you got Demario like a one-man wrecking crew, winning his matchup. And then Cam Jordan getting really good push against Jonah Williams, the right tackle of the Cardinals. And all of a sudden you have Carl Granderson and Cam Jordan having to meet up at the quarterback position. So Saints defense. And we'll get to Carl Granderson in just a couple clips. But once again, watch. Demario is going to take out the right side of your screen, and Cam is going to absolutely play some bully ball at this stage in his career. I mean, gets great push on Jonah Williams, and then it's just a meet up at the quarterback. And Kyler Murray is going to get destroyed 10 times out of 10 in that position. So, like I said, you're going to look at the production for Cam Jordan and you'll wonder, was it a fluke or not? Man, he had an excellent game and the tape shows it. But Demario, too. Demario was great. And getting Chase Young back into the mix. Going to get to this one right here. I believe this was a screenplay. I just really want to kind of highlight. Reads it all the way. And those are supposed to be those quick hitters for an Arizona team that's loaded with skill players where you're trying to dump that off to Connor and maybe gain 20-plus yards. Instead, it becomes a loss of yards because James Conner has nowhere to go. Carl Granderson read it the whole way. So kudos to him. I'd also even give a credit. I didn't put this in our tape here, but there was a play later in the game. Trey Benson had a 50-something yard run, I think 52-yard run. And Carl Granderson chased him down. And had he not made that tackle, that ends up being a touchdown drive. Cardinals actually settled for a field goal. And Kellen Moore said, hey, that energy, that effort he showed, it saved us 4 points. So it's the little things like that I do think matter for this Saints team. But I look at this defense again. I'm going to go back to that Cam Jordan and Demario play. If the Saints are going to be a team that competes on a weekly basis, it's shit like this that has to get done. And again, without Chase Young, the Saints defense was able to have a highly productive outing in terms of getting after the quarterback. I mean, Kyler Murray was pressured a crap ton. He was sacked 5 times. I'm going to find the statistic real quick, just to put into perspective how well the Saints defense played without Chase Young. It was quite impressive. So I think that's definitely worth putting out there. Here we go. Kyler Murray's average time to pressure was 1.63 seconds against the Saints. Only Geno Smith and Daniel Jones were under more duress quickly in week 1. So You want to give the Saints some credit for something that they did well in week 1? Is getting after the quarterback without their best pass rusher. And this isn't me just trying to feed you guys optimism. Taylor stepped up. And I think the return of Chase Young is just going to be an added bonus to this team. So week 2 against the San Francisco 49ers, an injury-plagued 49ers team right now. No George Kittle. He's been placed on IR. There's a chance Brock Purdy doesn't play, which means it would be Mac Jones versus Spencer Rattler in terms of the quarterback duel. Jawan Jennings is banged up. So there's no excuse for the Saints defense. They should be able to do their thing. The question is going to be on the other side of the football with the offense. Spencer Rattler, with this run game, are they going to be able to have success against a Robert Saleh defense that held the Seahawks to 13 points this past weekend? That to me is going to be the kind of the tail sign of whether or not you win. So Saints-Niners this Sunday in the Dome yet again, trying for their first win of the season, first win of the Kellen Moore era. I think it will come down to the offense and how they perform against that Robert Saleh defense, because I firmly believe that the Saints are going to get a whole lot of production out of that defense against that injury-riddled 49ers offense. So we'll see what happens. Regardless, though, we'll have the halftime show here at Boo Crew Media, so make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. And we'll also have our post-game live stream where we'll break down everything that happened, and we'll also take in your thoughts and comments about the Saints in their Week 2 matchup. So got a couple more days to go before we get that. We got a couple injury reports we'll get to, and hopefully the Saints get some good news on that front. Although after rewatching this game, I believe we'll get some bad news on the Fuaga front. So maybe we'll get some positive stuff when it comes to Chase Young and Trevor Penning. But for now, Saints 0-1. I believe their defense is showing signs of a really solid unit. The offense, I think some of the play calls are pretty clever. Got to open it up a little bit more in the pass game, but I think the run game has some pretty good calls. They just have to keep the game close enough to make sure that they can continue to dictate the game with their rushing attack. So we'll see what happens in week 2. Regardless, we'll be here to cover it on the Straight Up Saints podcast, the destination for the Who Dat Nation.